Hey, everyone. I never thought I'd be posting something like this, but here I am. I don't even know why I'm writing this. Maybe just to get it out of my head, or maybe because I feel like if I don't, I'll completely lose my mind. My life just blew up in ways I never could have imagined, and the worst part is, I never saw it coming. For context, my name's Daniel, I'm 51, and until a few weeks ago, I thought I had a pretty solid life. My wife, Lisa, and I had been married for almost 30 years. We got together when she was 19, and I was 22, and we built everything from the ground up. It wasn't easy. We were broke when we started, living in a tiny apartment with a leaky ceiling and neighbors who fought at all hours of the night. But we made it work. We worked our asses off, built careers, bought a house, and raised two daughters, Madison, 26, and Brooke, 24. Madison's always been the overachiever. Straight A student, top of her class, climbed the corporate ladder like she was born for it. She's engaged to some finance guy named Jared, wedding set for November. Brooke, on the other hand, is the free spirit. Always into arts and photography, had 100 different interests growing up. She was my little girl, always closer to me than Lisa. Or at least, that's what I thought. Lisa and I had our ups and downs like any marriage. Money was tight when the girls were little, and I worked brutal hours in construction, sometimes taking on 2 jobs at a time while Lisa worked toward her nursing degree. We argued about stupid things, who was picking up the kids, who forgot to buy groceries, but we always figured it out. That's what marriage is, right? You don't just throw it away when things get hard. At least, that's what I believed. But lately, things had felt off. Nothing dramatic, just little things that piled up. Lisa started acting differently, more secretive. She became weirdly protective of her phone. I noticed it the first time when mine died, and I picked up hers to check the time. She practically yanked it out of my hands, muttering something about privacy. That felt odd. We'd been together for 30 years. Since when did we have privacy with our phones? Then there were these sudden girls' nights she started having with Madison and Brooke. They used to go out every once in a while, which I thought was great, but suddenly it became every other week. Sometimes more. And whenever I asked where they went or what they did, I got vague, empty answers. Just dinner, or just catching up. Lisa used to come home and tell me all the gossip, every little thing they talked about. But now, silence. Then there was the night I came home early from a work trip. A client meeting got canceled, so I caught an earlier flight. When I walked in, Lisa was on the phone, but the second she saw me, she hung up, fast. I asked who it was, and she said, "Oh, just Madison," but she wouldn't meet my eyes. When I asked what they were talking about, she got weird, changed the subject completely. That wasn't the only thing that stood out. One night, I walked into the kitchen and overheard Brooke whispering something to Lisa. I only caught the tail end of it. "Do you think he knows?" The second they saw me, their eyes went wide, like I'd caught them in something. "What's going on?" I asked, half laughing, trying to shake off the weird feeling creeping up my spine. Lisa gave me a casual smile. "Nothing, just talking about something for later. Nothing you need to worry about." Brooke jumped in way too quickly. "Yeah, it's just a surprise thing. You'll find out soon enough." A surprise. Right. At the time, I convinced myself it was about my birthday. It was only a few weeks away. It had to be that. And then there was that weekend Lisa told me she was visiting her sister, Andrea, in Michigan. I didn't think twice about it. She took little trips like that now and then. A few days later, I was chatting with Madison on the phone, just small talk, when she casually mentioned how Lisa had gotten a nice tan. I frowned. A tan? In Michigan? In February? There was a tiny pause, barely noticeable, but something about it sent a chill down my spine. Then Madison laughed lightly. "Oh, yeah, we went to a tanning place before she left. It was a random thing. I let it go. I didn't want to be that husband, the paranoid one, the jealous one. I told myself I was reading too much into it. But then more things started adding up. Lisa had been dressing differently, buying new clothes. She started wearing makeup more often. She suddenly started going to the gym 3 times a week. I figured, good for her, right? But it was weird, completely out of nowhere. And then there was the silver bracelet. A few months back, she bought herself this sleek silver bracelet, said it was a career milestone reward. It looked expensive. When I asked how much it cost, she got defensive, snapped at me about how I never cared when she treated herself before. Which wasn't true. I always told her to buy whatever she wanted if we could afford it. Still, I brushed it all off. Told myself it was empty nest syndrome. The girls were out of the house now, so maybe Lisa was just trying to reinvent herself, stay busy. People change after 30 years, right? That's normal. I didn't want to be the overbearing husband who freaked out when his wife got a new haircut. But there was this nagging feeling, a whisper in the back of my mind telling me I was missing something. Something big. And then, on a completely ordinary Tuesday, my world imploded. I was at work, managing a site, when I checked my email on my lunch break. I was mindlessly scrolling through the usual junk when a subject line caught my eye. Your wife is cheating on you. At first, I thought it was spam. Some stupid scam like those emails about winning a lottery in a country I've never been to. But something made me open it. The message was short. Lisa has been screwing her boss, Greg, for over a year. Everyone at the company knows. Thought you deserved to know. And there was a video attached. I sat in my truck, staring at the screen, heart pounding so hard it hurt. My hand shook as I hovered over the play button. Part of me didn't want to watch it. If I didn't see it, maybe it wasn't real. Maybe I could still pretend everything was fine. But I clicked play, and everything I thought I knew about my life shattered. The video wasn't some grainy, low-quality nonsense. It was clear as day. It looked like it was taken at a company Christmas party. In the background, I saw Lisa sitting way too close to Greg, her boss. They were talking, leaning in, bodies practically touching. She had that familiar look on her face, the one she used to have when we were young and crazy about each other. Only now, it wasn't me she was looking at. The camera panned away for a moment, focusing on a drunk woman who I vaguely recognized. She had a cocktail in one hand and was swaying slightly, clearly a few drinks past her limit. Oh my God, is that her husband? The woman slurred to whoever was filming. No, another woman's voice responded, the one holding the camera. But tell me what you were saying about Lisa and Greg. The drunk woman giggled like it was some inside joke. Everyone knows. They've been screwing for like a year. They think they're so sneaky, but come on. The business trips? The way they disappear during lunch? He even bought her that bracelet she always wears. The bracelet. The silver one she claimed was a reward to herself. My stomach twisted so hard I thought I was going to be sick. The person filming pressed on. So how does she get away with it? The drunk woman shrugged, swirling her drink. Oh, she's got it covered. She has a whole routine. Excuses, little white lies. People think she's working late, out shopping, visiting her daughters. But nah, she's with him. The video cut off. I sat there, gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles went white. I don't even know how long I stared at the black screen. My ears were ringing, my heart hammering so hard I could barely hear my own thoughts. This wasn't some petty rumor. It wasn't just gossip from a bitter coworker. This was real. Lisa had been lying to my face for over a year. And my daughters? Were they in on it? Was that why Madison and Brooke were suddenly spending so much time with her? Had they been covering for her, feeding me lies while she ran around with Greg? I felt like I couldn't breathe. I needed more proof. I wasn't just going to barge into my house and start throwing accusations. I needed to be absolutely sure. So I decided to test her. That night, I told Lisa I had to head out of town for a last-minute project. It was a believable lie. I worked construction, and sudden calls happened all the time. She barely blinked, just kissed my cheek and told me to be safe. I told her I'd be gone for 3 days. Instead, I stayed at my buddy Chris's place across town. And I watched. The first night, Lisa texted me as usual. Long day, babe. Gonna turn in early. Love you. I checked the tracker app on her phone, the one we installed years ago for safety reasons. She wasn't home. She was across town, parked outside a hotel. I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my palms. I waited. At 2:14 a.m., her little dot moved again. Back home. The next day, she called me, sounding cheerful. Told me she was meeting Madison and Brooke for dinner, just some girl time. I drove across town to the restaurant where they usually met. I sat in my truck, watching. Madison and Brooke were there, laughing, eating. Lisa wasn't. I checked the tracker again. She was at Greg's house. I had my answer. And I had one more test left. That night, I sent a text to Madison. Hey, kiddo. Just checking, did your mom make it to dinner yet? Her reply came fast. Yeah, she's here. Why? I stared at the message, my heart hammering against my ribs. My own daughters had been lying to me, covering for her. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just Lisa's betrayal. This was all of them. And they were about to find out exactly what that felt like. I sat in my truck for nearly an hour, gripping the steering wheel so hard my fingers went numb. My mind kept looping the same thought. They knew. They all knew. Lisa, Madison, Brooke. Every dinner, every conversation, every moment we spent together in the last year, it had all been a lie. They had looked me in the eye, laughed at my jokes, hugged me, told me they loved me, all while covering for Lisa. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I drove aimlessly, my thoughts tangled between fury and devastation. I ended up at a 24-hour diner, sitting in a booth with a cup of coffee I didn't touch. I kept staring at my phone, at that single text from Madison. Yeah, she's here. Why? No hesitation. No guilt. Just another lie. At some point, I must have dozed off in the diner because I woke up to the sound of my phone vibrating against the table. Lisa. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. Then Madison. Then Brooke. I ignored them all. By the time morning came, my plan was fully formed. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to demand answers. I was going to end this as cleanly and as brutally as possible. I drove to my lawyer's office the second they opened. Divorce, I told him flatly, dropping the folder of evidence on his desk. And I want it done fast. The lawyer, an older guy named Carter, glanced through the pictures and videos I had collected. He let out a low whistle. You've got more than enough to bury her in court. But I need to ask, how do you want to play this? I leaned back, feeling the exhaustion settle into my bones. I don't want to drag it out. I want her out of my life. I'll fight for what's mine, but I'm not interested in revenge. Just make sure she doesn't take me to the cleaners. Carter nodded. That's smart. The best revenge is moving on while she drowns in her own mess. I left his office feeling lighter. Not better, not by a long shot, but at least I had a direction. Then came the fun part. I gathered every photo, every video, every piece of evidence I had, and I dropped them into a group chat. Not just with Lisa. Not just with Madison and Brooke. I added everyone. Her siblings. My siblings. Our parents. Our extended family. Even a few close friends. Then, with my hand steady, I typed a message. Lisa, I hope you're enjoying your girls' night. Funny, though, you seem to have forgotten to invite Madison and Brooke. You look pretty cozy with Greg instead. Oh, and girls? You might want to work on your lying skills. Hope it was worth it. And then, I attached the photos. One by one, I saw the read notifications pop up. Seconds later, my phone exploded with calls and messages. Lisa, what the hell is this? Who sent you these? Madison, Dad, wait. Brooke, oh my God, please, just talk to us. Her brother, Lisa, what the hell is he talking about? My mom, call me right now. My dad, is this some kind of joke? I turned off my phone. Let them sit with it. Let them feel just an ounce of the betrayal I had been drowning in for the past 48 hours. When I finally got home, they were all there. Lisa, sitting on the couch, her face pale, hands gripping her phone like a lifeline. Madison and Brooke next to her, both looking like they'd just seen a ghost. The second I walked in, Lisa jumped to her feet. Daniel, please, let's talk about this. I didn't say anything. I just pulled out my phone, hit play on the video, and turned the screen to face them. Lisa turned away as if not looking at it would make it disappear. Madison pressed her lips together. Brooke? Brooke started crying. How long? My voice was steady. Cold. Lisa said nothing. Madison inhaled deeply, closing her eyes for a moment like she was bracing for impact. 15 months. 15 months. I looked at Brooke, my little girl, the one who used to fall asleep on my chest watching cartoons. And you? I asked. How long have you been covering for your mother? She broke into sobs. Dad, I didn't know what to do. Mom said it was just temporary. She said she was going through something, and that if you found out, you'd leave and everything would fall apart. I let out a bitter laugh. You mean she was afraid of facing the consequences of her choices? Lisa finally spoke, her voice cracking. Daniel, I was going to end it. I was trying to find the right time to tell you. Don't. I cut her off. Don't insult me with that. I turned to Madison, my eldest. She looked calm, too calm, like she was already formulating her argument. And you? I asked. What's your excuse? She squared her shoulders. Dad, you have to understand. No, Madison. My voice was sharp. You have to understand. You lied to me. Repeatedly. You made me feel like a fool in my own home. Madison lifted her chin, her expression unreadable. You weren't exactly present, Dad. You were always at work, always focused on your projects. Maybe if you had been more emotionally available, Mom wouldn't have. I stepped toward her, fury bubbling up like a volcano. Say it, I dared her. Say it out loud. Say that you're blaming me for your mother screwing another man. She hesitated, and in that moment, I saw her for what she was, just like her mother. She made a mistake, Madison said instead. But you're blowing this out of proportion. I exhaled through my nose, nodding to myself. Get out. Madison frowned. What? All of you. Get out. Brooke let out a choked sob. Dad, please, let's just talk. No, my voice was steel. I don't want to talk. I don't want to listen to your excuses. I don't want to hear how I somehow caused this. You all made your choices. Now I'm making mine. Lisa tried again, her voice desperate. Daniel, please, don't do this. I turned to her, feeling nothing but exhaustion. I already did. I pulled the divorce papers from my jacket pocket and dropped them onto the coffee table. You can sign them here, I said, or you can sign them in court. Lisa let out a strangled gasp. Madison's jaw clenched. Brooke broke down completely. I turned my back on them, walked to the front door, and held it open. Get out of my house. And one by one, they left. Lisa paused at the doorway, looking back at me like she wanted to say something. I met her gaze, silent. She didn't say a word. When the door closed behind them, I let out a slow breath. And for the first time in months, I felt free. The house was silent. Not the kind of silence I was used to, the peaceful, comfortable quiet of an empty home at night. No, this was different. It was hollow, unnatural, like the house itself was adjusting to the sudden absence of the people who used to make it feel alive. I stood there for a long time, staring at the door they had just walked out of. My legs felt numb, my chest tight, but I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just existed. And then I moved. I went through every room, one by one, collecting anything that reminded me of them. Framed photos, little trinkets, gifts they had given me over the years. Anything that once had sentimental value. I piled it all in the garage. I wasn't sure if I wanted to burn it, trash it, or just get it out of my sight. But I knew one thing for sure, none of it belonged in my home anymore. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Calls from Lisa, from Madison, from Brooke. Even her brother, even my own sister. I ignored them all. The first message I read was from Madison. You're being unreasonable. This isn't how a father is supposed to act. I almost laughed. That was her biggest concern? That I wasn't playing the role of the good little father who forgave and forgot? Then Brooke's messages came in, scattered between missed calls. Dad, please don't shut me out. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but I was scared. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't respond. I wasn't ready to face any of them. Instead, I did what I should have done the moment I saw that video. I went back to my lawyer. Carter already had the divorce paperwork ready. I assume we're moving forward? He asked, even though he already knew the answer. I nodded. Fast as possible. He smirked. That's what I like to hear. We went over everything, what Lisa was entitled to, what she'd try to fight for, and what I needed to do to protect myself. She's going to go for the house, he warned. And alimony. Probably even your retirement. Can she take it? Not all of it. But if she fights dirty, she could walk away with more than she deserves. I clenched my jaw. Then let's make sure she doesn't. Carter gave me a knowing look. You willing to play dirty back? I leaned forward. She played dirty first. He grinned. Good answer. By the time I left his office, the wheels were in motion. Lisa was going to be served within the week. That night, I sat in my darkened living room, staring at the TV without really watching it. The loneliness was different now. Heavier. Final. And for the first time, the anger faded, replaced by something colder. I was done mourning my marriage. Now, it was time to rebuild my life. The next few days were a blur of legal documents and paperwork. I transferred half of our joint savings into a separate account, one she couldn't touch. I changed the locks, packed up her things, and arranged for a moving company to drop them at a storage unit. If she wanted her stuff, she could take it from there. She showed up at the house once, pounding on the door, demanding to be let in. I didn't even get up from the couch. Daniel, you can't just shut me out like this. We need to talk. I took a sip of my beer. We did talk. It ended with you leaving. This isn't fair, she snapped. You're being petty. I finally stood, walking to the door but not opening it. Fair. I repeated, my voice dangerously calm. You want to talk about fair? You cheated on me for 15 months. Our daughter's covered for you. And now you want fair. Silence. Then, in a much smaller voice, she said, I didn't mean for it to happen. I laughed, an ugly, humorless sound. You didn't mean to screw another man for over a year? Didn't mean to lie to my face every single day? You must have tripped and fallen on his lap, huh? I heard her breath hitch. I loved you, Daniel. Past tense. I still love you. I scoffed. You don't get to say that. Not anymore. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, bitterly, you'll regret this. And then she left. I didn't regret a damn thing. Madison, on the other hand, was relentless. She wasn't apologetic like Brooke. She wasn't crying, begging for forgiveness. No, she was angry. Cold. And she made it clear that in her mind, I was the one ruining everything. You're throwing away this family over a mistake, she texted. Mom isn't perfect, but she's still our mother. And you're still my father. You're the one making this irreparable. I didn't respond. A day later, another text. You know you're still paying for my wedding, right? I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. I typed back 2 words. Not happening. Her response was immediate. Are you serious? You promised. I promised my daughter. I don't know who you are anymore. Silence. Then, hours later, a final message. You're going to regret this, Dad. One day, you'll realize how selfish you were. Selfish. That was rich, coming from the daughter who had spent the past year lying to me. That was the last time I heard from Madison. Brooke was different. She kept trying, kept reaching out, kept leaving voicemails I didn't answer. She wasn't blaming me. She was just lost. Dad, please talk to me. I know I don't deserve it, but I don't know what to do. I miss you. And the worst part? I missed her too. But missing her wasn't enough. Because every time I thought about giving her another chance, I remembered her text that night. Yeah, she's here. Why? She had lied to my face without hesitation. And that was something I couldn't forget. I barely slept that night. Not because of rage, no. The white-hot anger had burned itself out, leaving something colder in its place. Clarity. A finality that settled deep into my bones. By the time morning rolled around, I knew exactly what I had to do. I got up early, showered, shaved, put on a clean shirt, something I hadn't bothered to do in days. It was time to stop wallowing. Lisa had already destroyed enough of my life. I wasn't going to let her take anything more from me. I had a meeting with Carter first thing. The divorce was already in motion, but now I wanted to talk about something else. My will. He looked at me over his glasses. You're sure about this? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. He nodded. All right. Who's getting everything? My brother. His kids. The rest, I want donated. No room for adjustments? His tone was careful, but we both knew what he was really asking. No. Not for Lisa. Not for Madison. Not even for Brooke. She had called me the night before, another voicemail I hadn't listened to, but I had seen the transcript flash across my screen. Dad, I know I don't deserve to ask for anything, but please don't shut me out completely. I love you. I know I screwed up. I know I lied, and I hate myself for it. But I don't want to lose you forever. It was the first time she had sounded genuinely afraid, like she realized I was serious, that this wasn't some temporary punishment where I'd eventually come around and we'd all hug it out. And that's exactly why I needed to do this. Because I was serious. I wasn't going to let guilt weaken me. Not after everything. Carter finished drafting the new will while I sat in silence. He pushed the papers toward me. All set. Just need your signature. I picked up the pen and signed. And with that, I officially cut my daughters out of my legacy. When I walked out of Carter's office, I expected to feel guilt, regret, something. But all I felt was relief. It was done. That same night, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I almost ignored it, but at the last second, I answered. Mr. Carter? The voice was hesitant, cautious. A man's voice. This is Daniel Carter. Who's this? A pause. Then, it's Jared. Madison's fiancé. I frowned. Why are you calling me? Another pause. Then quieter. I wanted to talk to you in person. There's something you should know. I almost told him to go to hell. Almost hung up on the spot. But there was something in his tone, something nervous, unsettled. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him. An hour later, I was sitting across from him at a bar. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, his drink barely touched. I know you don't owe me anything, he started, voice low. And I know this is weird. But I needed to ask, what really happened with Lisa? I stared at him. Madison didn't tell you? Oh, she did. His mouth twisted. She told me her version. That you freaked out over a brief mistake, threw them all out, and refused to listen to reason. I exhaled sharply. Of course she did. That's why I wanted to hear your side. Because something wasn't adding up. I didn't sugarcoat it. I laid it all out. The affair, the lies, the cover-up, the texts, the deception. By the time I was finished, Jared looked like he was going to be sick. Jesus Christ. He rubbed his face. I knew something was off, but I didn't realize it was this bad. Why are you really here, Jared? I asked, watching him carefully. He hesitated, then sighed. Because I think I'm making a huge mistake. I didn't say anything. He laughed bitterly. I've been second-guessing this wedding for weeks, and now? After hearing all this. He shook his head. I don't think I can do it. Smart kid. I finished my drink and stood. Then don't. Jared didn't show up to the wedding. Madison lost her mind. And somehow, she still had the audacity to blame me for it. This is your fault. You poisoned him against me. No, Madison. You did that all by yourself. The texts from her kept coming for days, alternating between fury and desperation. I can't believe you do this to your own daughter. You ruined everything. You're being petty. I hope you rot alone. Eventually, I blocked her number. And with that, I was done. Lisa and Madison? Dead to me. Brooke? That part still stung. She wasn't like Madison. She wasn't cruel or manipulative. She was just a scared kid who had made a terrible choice. But a choice is still a choice. And she had made hers. I didn't know her forgiveness. What I owed was myself. For the first time in years, I put myself first. And it felt damn good. The silence in my life wasn't as heavy anymore. It was still there, but it felt different now. It wasn't loneliness, it was clarity. I had spent too much time trying to understand why they had done what they did. Why Lisa had betrayed me. Why Madison had turned on me so coldly. Why Brooke had lied to my face over and over again. But at some point, I realized the why didn't matter anymore. All that mattered was that they had. And I wasn't going to waste another second of my life mourning people who had chosen to destroy me. Lisa's lawyer tried to make things messy. She demanded half of everything. The house, my retirement, even my truck. She claimed she had sacrificed her career for the family and deserved compensation for all the years of emotional neglect she had endured. Carter ripped her apart in negotiations. Thanks to the evidence I had, the video, the texts, the blatant infidelity, Lisa walked away with far less than she expected. She got some money, her car, and nothing else. The house was mine. My retirement was mine. She had thrown away 30 years of marriage for a man who didn't even have the decency to put a ring on her finger. She and Greg didn't last. A few months after the divorce was finalized, I heard from mutual friends that Greg had moved on to another woman. Someone younger, someone new. Lisa was left picking up the pieces. I didn't feel bad for her. She had made her choices. So had I. I moved out of that house anyway. Too many memories. Too much history. I sold it for a good price and bought a smaller place closer to work. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. No ghosts, no lies, just a clean slate. I kept waiting for the regret to hit. It never did. Madison was still radio silent. Last I heard, she was bitter and blaming me for everything. Her wedding was supposed to be the perfect moment in her life, and now she was trying to spin the story so that I was the villain. I didn't care. Jared dodged a bullet. Brooke was the only loose thread. She still sent messages. Small ones, short ones. Nothing pushy, nothing demanding. Thinking about you. Hope you're okay. Miss you, Dad. I never responded. But I didn't block her, either. Then one day, she showed up. I had just gotten home from work when I heard a knock on the door. When I opened it, Brooke was standing there, looking small and hesitant. She wasn't crying. She wasn't pleading. She just looked tired. I know you don't want to see me, she said quietly. And I won't take up your time. But I just needed to say it in person. I didn't say anything. I messed up, she continued. I know that. I was scared, I was stupid, and I betrayed you. And I don't expect you to forgive me. But I just wanted you to know that I never lied to hurt you. I lied because I thought I was protecting our family. And that was wrong. She took a shaky breath. I won't keep trying if you don't want me to. I just wanted to tell you that I love you. And I'm sorry. For the first time in months, I actually looked at her. Really looked. She was my little girl. But she wasn't a little girl anymore. She had made her choices. She had paid for them. I didn't know if I could ever trust her again. But for the first time, I thought maybe, just maybe, I could try. Come inside, Brooke, I said. Her breath hitched, and she stepped in. And just like that, I took my first step forward. Brooke sat across from me in the living room, fidgeting with the sleeves of her sweater. She looked nervous, like she wasn't sure if she should be here. I wasn't sure either. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Then, finally, I broke the silence. Why now? She swallowed hard. Because I didn't want to wait until it was too late. I studied her. She wasn't here to manipulate me. She wasn't here to make excuses. She had already accepted that she had done irreparable damage. But she was still here, trying. And maybe that meant something. I don't know how to move past this, I admitted. I don't know if I ever will. Brooke nodded, looking down at her hands. I understand. That was the difference between her and Madison. Madison had expected forgiveness. Brooke didn't. And that made me want to try. We sat there for hours, talking. Not about Lisa, not about Madison, not about the betrayal. Just about life. What she had been doing. How she had moved out of Madison's place and was trying to rebuild on her own. How she had realized that the way she handled things had changed the way she saw herself. How did you know you'd never take Mom back? She asked suddenly. I sighed, leaning back against the couch. Because she never really thought she did anything wrong. Not deep down. It was all just a mistake to her. Something that she figured she could fix if I just stopped being angry. But it wasn't a mistake, Brooke. It was a choice she made every day for over a year. Brooke nodded slowly. I used to think you were just being stubborn. That you were making this bigger than it needed to be. But I get it now. She hesitated. You're happier without her, aren't you? I didn't even need to think about it. Yes. She smiled a little. Then I'm glad. That was the first night I had let my guard down with her. We weren't fixed. But we weren't nothing, either. Lisa and Madison? They had made their beds. I didn't care where they ended up. But Brooke had taken responsibility for what she had done. And while I wasn't sure if I'd ever fully trust her again, I was willing to give her the chance to earn it back. That was the last time I heard from Lisa. The last I heard, she and Greg had split. He had left her for someone else, and she was struggling to pick up the pieces. She had reached out a few times, short, pitiful texts. I miss you. Can we talk? I'm sorry for everything. I never responded. She wasn't my problem anymore. Madison, from what I heard, was still bitter. She blamed me for everything. Told anyone who would listen that I had abandoned them, that I was the villain in the story. Let her. I had long stopped caring what she thought of me. Brooke and I weren't perfect. We weren't the same as we had been before. But we were something. And maybe, in time, that would be enough. As for me, I moved on. I met someone, a woman named Rachel. She was divorced, too. Had her own scars, her own betrayals. But she was kind. She was honest. And for the first time in years, I felt like I was standing on solid ground again. Sometimes, people ask if I regret cutting Madison and Lisa out of my life. If I ever wonder if I was too harsh. If I should have tried harder to fix things. My answer is always the same. You can't fix something that was never real to begin with. Lisa and Madison weren't my family. Brooke? Maybe, someday, she could be again. But me? I was done looking backward. And for the first time in my life, I was finally, truly free.